Good day, nerds, and welcome to episode 101 of the Nerd Cantina Show. I'm your host, Ken, joined by my co-host, Steve, and we're going to cover this week's nerd news. We're going to begin in entertainment with the latest major movie release in New Mutants. We've got an unfortunately or untimely death of Chadwick Boseman, and then we'll follow up on the previous week's stories regarding Apple and Epic Games. Then we'll move over to tech news, which the big event was Elon Musk's Neuralink demonstration, some Tesla news, as well as flying cars. There's lots to get to. Let's get started.
Calling back all nerds. Nerds!
All right, and welcome back to episode 101. We're into a new century of episodes here, and let's get started with, I guess, the first article or first news was one that came out before the movie was released, and it was a bunch of, the regular film critics, the Roger Ebert type people complaining to Disney that they would not go review the movie because they wouldn't get some special private showings that would safely allow them to see that in COVID. But you braved
the real heroes.
Yeah,
the real fucking heroes
are the normal people that have to see it in such unsafe conditions, and that was you.
Yeah. Again, I commend AMC for what they do. They block out all the seats around me. I don't feel unsafe in there, but I just am a middle-aged, healthy man that exercises and is trying to lose weight. So maybe that might have something to do with it. But you get the critics that enjoy their sugary treats and popcorn every day, and maybe they don't feel as safe. I think that's more of a personal problem. It's just it's hard to listen to them complain about this stuff when we know we have kids in Jewels and Walmarts every day, nurses in hospitals every day, and it's like you're gonna really complain? Like, I don't understand.
You're gonna just refuse to view it because they didn't give you at-home screeners of it, so you could just watch it from your couch safely.
No, that's how bootlegs happen. That's how bootlegs happen.
And I like Disney's decision, which was, no, you could just go watch it with everybody else, or don't review the movie where you're just going to probably trash it anyway.
They were able to keep this movie under wraps for 3 years because they didn't give out screeners. How does a movie that is done for 3 years not come out on bootleg before this? Because we don't give out screeners, and we're not going to.
So in the end, you got to see it. Your review is up on the Nerd Cantina.
I thought it was enjoyable. It had its goods and its bad parts. I didn't think that it was more of like a horror movie in the comic book space. I think they left a little bit on the table with the comic, the mutants and the characters. They could have not had superpowers and it would have been the same movie almost. You know what I mean? So I think they just left a little bit on the table there. Acting was pretty decent. Some of the characters were really cool. It was an entertaining movie. I just wouldn't rush to go see it if, with Tenet coming out this week and a bunch of other blockbusters slated to finally release. This movie isn't needed to be rushed to scene. I can understand why they held it so long. It would have been hard pressed to find a good time to release it during like the summer blockbuster season. I don't know. There's 2 Halloweens that passed where they could have released it fine and found an audience just looking to find that scare. But I guess if you're a horror fan, it doesn't really satisfy your gore and your thrill needs. If you're a comic book fan, it doesn't really satisfy your action kind of like adventure needs. It plays like both sides, but doesn't do both sides completely well. So I don't know. But the speculation of this just being a dumpster fire that they've held on to, that wasn't accurate, though. I wouldn't say that. You can check out the review on the nerdcantina.com.
How they do your girl?
She was the best part of the movie, I thought. Yeah, I thought for sure. What they did with her, they gave a couple Easter eggs. She was done really well.
Did they actually like have her character be Colossus's sister, or no?
They didn't
just
mention
let
it.
her
Yeah,
have her
no, they
powers.
didn't make
Yeah.
any reference to it. I don't know when they were filming, if they were in negotiations to sell Fox at the time, because they sold Fox right after it wrapped, I want to say. So maybe they knew that things were kind of be up in the air, but they left it open to tie everything in if they needed to. It was very separate from the MCU or the Fox X-Men universe. It was kind of really separate. They make reference to the X-Men, like they know they exist, but very, very little details.
All right. Well, the reports as far as like how well it did have come out in the last day, and depending on the headline, some headlines are saying like, oh, they made a New Mutants releases with only a measly $7 million opening this weekend. And then some of the headlines are saying like, oh, above expectations, they made $7 million in COVID time. So I guess it's a matter of how you frame it. But $7 million, they led the box office this weekend. $7 million on a normal world would be a complete loss. I don't care what movie you are. If the lead movie only made $7 million in the box office, that's bad. But
that's the thing is it was still the number one movie. There's a handful of movies to see, and I mean, not many, but there's a handful. And if you're the top movie, that's, I guess, all you could really ask for.
Yeah. And I mean, the entire box office for this last weekend was 16 million. So, almost half of that is made up by people seeing New Mutants. It's just, that we'll see with Tenet. We'll see coming up with Tenet.
I think the bar for COVID sales will be Tenet. Which I go see tonight at 5 o'clock.
Do we even see, total box office over $100 million? I don't know. In a weekend, I don't know if there's enough capacity to do that. So, Tenet will be the first real one that will get people who are marginally comfortable with it. That say, all right, fuck it, let's go. But we'll find out next weekend, and we'll get your review. We're recording this by the time the episode's out. Steve's review will be up on the nerdcantina.com.
Yes, it will.
But in somber news across the MCU and entertainment space, you get the news that Chadwick Boseman dies at the age of 43 of colon cancer, and it was a complete surprise at how long to hear that he's been fighting with this. I respect the fact that he managed all of that privately, still continued to shoot movies over the last 4 years while he's been dealing with stage 3 cancer, which progressed to stage 4 in the last year. It's a tough hit for his family and for fans. There's been all kinds of memorials, a bunch of kids that you can find all over like Instagram making like T'Challa action figures with all the Marvel other action figures doing memorials for him, and a lot of kind of sweetness around remembering him. But yeah, rough loss.
Yeah, this is rough. What I hope comes out of it is that men across the country and black men across the country do take into consideration the devastation of colon cancer. It is one of the more deadly cancers. I want to say it's like the second deadliest cancer.
Yeah, like when you get
in existence.
Yeah, the survival rate's pretty low.
It is pretty rough. I've done a couple walkathons for colon cancer. My girlfriend worked for a urologist, and I guess that falls into that category at times. And we did a big walk. I have the t-shirt. They had the slogan was "Don't fight the finger," and gives you the good old two finger. Once you hit a certain age, you got to get checked because it attacks men at a high rate. We know that there's disparities in the black community when it comes to health outcomes. So I hope that his death kind of sheds a light on these things. The fact that he did keep it to himself and kind of just went off into the sunset is a little sad. That the awareness wasn't there before. It's kind of like smacking everybody in the face now. And I just, it got me thinking that I should get my prostate checked
you should next month after 40. After 40, it's time.
They say 35 now.
I
know. That means you're due too.
Yeah. So I mean, I'll say that I haven't fought the finger.
I haven't fought it, but I haven't came in contact with it either.
I don't know. My doctor is, I mean, that's a part of the physical that I expect. So I go in and first thing I do is shake hands and check the thickness of the knuckles. Just make
how many
sure
rings does he have on?
But when you're 40, that's colonoscopy time. That's everything. Which is, this is the time that it becomes higher risk. So again, tough. Definitely pay attention to your health. I respect the fact that he did it privately though, and it didn't dominate every interview that he did. That he became the spokesman for colon cancer. He could have maybe raised awareness and stuff while he was alive. But at the same point in time, I respect the fact that he wanted.
Yeah,
to
it's
fight
a very
it privately.
personal experience, and if that's the route he chose, I have nothing wrong with that whatsoever. It's a real tragedy that he passed. He was a great actor, had an iconic role, and not just in the comic book community, but in the Black community. This one hurts. This one's felt by everybody.
All right. Well, no easy way to transition out of that, but let's just take it over to the latest in the Epic and Apple fight, as it got kind of seen in court this last week, where a federal judge, Epic, tried to petition to federal judges that Epic or Apple can't do any kind of action at this point as far as banning them. Or in the end, the federal judge only decided that Apple cannot cause collateral damage, meaning they couldn't just ban outright the Unreal Engine and every game, every developer that uses Unreal Engine, and tie them up into it. So stopped Apple from taking action against Unreal Engine, but they were still able to destroy the Epic accounts, which means Fortnite officially, was defended by the judge that Apple could terminate Fortnite. But that also rolled up Infinity Blade and other games that are coming out of Epic Studios. So Epic loses in that front. Maybe they saved their engine from still being viable, but they lose a lot, not just Fortnite. So that was a big loss for them. And then at the same time, because Apple has absolutely no chill, they at the same time, the same day that they banned all of Epic games, they also began promoting on in the App Store, on the front page of the App Store, PUBG, which is Fortnite's complete competitor, and also uses the Unreal Engine. So that would have, if the federal judge didn't decide against them, PUBG would have died on Apple as well because of their use of the Unreal Engine. So it's pretty much taking the federal judge's decision and just saying, well, we'll still absolutely hammer you as best as we can, and now promote your other game that you have actually really no monetary interest in, other than the fact that they pay you for your intellectual property. So big loss.
Yeah, there's just some ruthless suits in an office space somewhere just making these cutthroat decisions. It is getting ugly, and this has been 3 weeks going now. This is the third week in a row we've talked about this story. It's gonna be a fight, man. It's gonna be a fight.
I mean, I respect the fact that Epic is still, they're still fighting strong here,
and they've made over $1 billion on a free game. I think they're trying to take a stand for gamers, and they're one of the only companies that can do it. They're losing out with this Apple stuff, but they just released a huge Marvel collaboration on their consoles.
Everybody on an iOS device is no longer a part of that season coming out. That entire season with this Marvel whatever.
But what percentage of people were playing on mobile anyways?
So I actually keep being look at what are the numbers? What are the numbers that get affected? And I do think it is fairly large, right? The prevalence of phones being everywhere. People have iPads and iPhones at a higher rate than even consoles and stuff. So, there's still kids out there that's the only way that they get to kind of participate in this Fortnite nonsense. And they're gone.
I don't care if I can't play against a 9-year-old on a cell phone while I'm playing Fortnite. I really don't care.
Yeah, I mean, I get that, but in the end, I think I'm still just waiting for Fortnite just to cave on this. Yeah, I get it. Fortnite, they made $1 billion on a free game, but Apple is still valued at, their market cap is still over $2 trillion, right? Apple is a just absolute behemoth that, in order for Fortnite to see their date in court, they're going to have to hold out for years. years before Apple allows this thing to actually have a ruling.
Yeah, I just don't know how important it truly is, considering that they didn't release originally on the phone. They were out for 2 years, 3 years before they even came out with a phone version. I think a lot of people that play on the phone. So there's a hack that I was just brought to where Rami was playing with his little nephew, and he was like, "You want to see me own kids?" And they were in like a 3-man team. He invited a 4th player. The 4th player was his cell phone, an account he made just for his cell phone. And then once you're on your cell phone, if you have a cell phone player in your team, then you have to play against all cell phone people or something, or it ports in a lot more cell phone players because you have a cell phone person on your team. And because you're on console and they're playing on a cell phone, you fucking murk them all and your numbers shoot up like crazy because they're playing on a 5-inch screen and you're playing on a 65-inch screen with a controller. So yeah, how many of the people playing on cell phone are just little kids exercising that hack?
I mean, yeah, I don't know, maybe a few. I can imagine there's probably some Twitch streamers and stuff like that are building up their highlight reel.
I downloaded the cell phone version when I was working at the nightclub, and I tried to play it a few times, and they're like, man, I don't know if it's my old ass eyes, but I couldn't see shit. I couldn't shoot nobody. I couldn't do nothing. Like you can't see nothing on that little ass phone. Like phones aren't made for shooters.
No, it's definitely not. I cannot do it. But I mean, in the end, I think it does affect a lot of people. I don't know how many effects. It is an interesting case and an interesting overall fight. We will continue to, I'm sure, talk about this. The most interesting part of this whole thing is just how ruthless Apple is. And
yeah, like I'm not a UFC fan, but I'll watch 2 people bust each other in the head all night and not care who wins. That's kind of the same thing that I'm doing right now. Is like I got no pony in this game, but like I'll watch these 2 fight it out to the tooth to see where the future of gaming legalities go.
Well, I think I think we'll get more on this, and I really do still hope that this makes it to court. But until then, right now, if Epic's just banned, not just Fortnite, but all of Epic games, and but PUBG, other Unreal engines were held up by the federal judge this week. I guess that it's going to round us out through entertainment news here, and we can go into what's got a bit of a deeper topics this week, and that's into our tech segment. And in tech news, the biggest thing that we've had on the calendar for over a month now, since it was announced that there was going to be the August 28th event, was surrounding the Neuralink demonstration. And I'm slightly disappointed, only just because there was, I was just waiting for at some point in time during the demonstration when Elon Musk pulls back his hair and is like, and I've got one in my head. I was just waiting for that, but that never happened. But otherwise, there's a lot of interesting stuff coming out of Neuralink. Definitely, I think the primary goal of this was just to demonstrate to some degree that it was safe, as they rolled out a whole bunch of pigs that got the new version of Neuralink in their head.
Yeah, if didn't kill subject A is the benchmark, they achieved it. We can go that far for sure. It still is yet to be seen, how it's going to interact with humans and what the capabilities are going to be, but they are attaching tiny wires to brain stems and things like that, and they're not killing people. So step 1 accomplished.
Yeah, I mean, so it gets more and more interesting when you see it. Did you see the actual prototype that they're using now, or the versions they're using now?
I tried to watch as much as I could of it this week in a busy weekend.
I find it interesting. So originally it was going to be a smaller hole, and the wires that were going to get put in, and then the actual interface was going to be a little kind of external. Now they're cutting a larger hole in the skull, about the size of, I think it was about the size of a nickel. Yeah. And then the chip is the same thickness of your skull, so that way it's just going to replace that part, and then just essentially be visible. If you got a shaved head, if you're Bezos, you're going to see this thing. It's going to be flush with your brain or with your head, and then inductively charged. So I just keep thinking of every evening you're going to bed with some weird like skull cap on your head that's inductively charging the device so you can use it the next day.
I'm wondering every time you go through TSA at the airport if you just like piss your pants. There's got to be some kinks that are going to need to be worked out about this whole thing.
Yeah, I mean the whole new interface was interesting to me. The fact that they demonstrated it, they demonstrated on the pigs, and the truth is you couldn't really see it on the pigs necessarily on the external. So I'm sure they're going to have some way to people
are going to
get
them put in, and if you got a bald head, you're going to get a tattoo designed around it. You're going to bedazzle it. You're going to do something to show it off because it's not going to be cheap.
Yeah,
like you're gonna diamond stud it or gold plate it or something.
Yeah, you're just gonna something. I agree, and the main point of the event was, I think, to just demonstrate safety. They showed pigs that had no implant ever and just showed how they behaved, and then they showed pigs that had the implant in their head and how they behaved, and they looked like normal pigs. They walked around, they smelled around, they interacted with the caretakers the same way. Then they demonstrated a pig that had one and then had it removed 2 months ago to pretty much demonstrate that, hey, it's optional. You can remove it. It's not like you become dependent on it and can't function once it's removed from the brain. And then they even showed, I think there was 3 pigs that had multiple Neuralinks installed in their brain, which to me, demonstrates, yes, that you could put in more, but I think that's got to be the plan. I think, if you're only going to map one area that is within an inch of one hole in the head, well, you're going to probably need a couple of those holes in the head if you're going to have like full brain mapping and doing some of these other things that Elon Musk talks about with like actual like memory storage and stuff like that.
That old saying goes out the window now, like I need another car, like I need another hole in the head. Like, that's going way with the dodo.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, when they were, they were demonstrating the pigs going around smelling, and you could hear these beeps going on the screen. That was the real-time mapping of, okay, as the pig, they had the sensor specifically in the detecting the snout is what they were doing with that sensor. And they could demonstrate that, hey, they can catch all these impulses as the pig was smelling around. Every time it smelled something, it came with a different set of beeps and blips and electrical impulses, and they were able to track that in real time and demonstrate people in real time. And then
that's what I think is going to be crazy too, is the neural mapping. You're going to have to get it hooked up. Imagine like if every time you had a video game that you put in, you had to map the controller. It didn't have like presets. I'm imagining it's something kind of like that. Like you got to know what the A button does. You got to know what the B button does. I think there's going to be some time where they have to map out the Neuralinks and figure out when this sensor goes off, it means this, and when this one goes off, it means that.
Yeah, and they did the mapping. So they did a video demonstration of a pig on a treadmill, and they had the pig on the treadmill, and they were mapping. They were showing side by side, or really an overlay of the impulses that were coming from the motor cortex as the pig was walking, tracking where the position of the 4 limbs were and all the joints surrounding the limbs as the pig was walking. And then they showed overlaid the predictive model on what the AI with the sensor computer was predicting the position of the legs would be based off of predicting how the pig would be walking at that speed. And it was pretty much identical. Maybe some marginally different predictions, but in the end, it demonstrated that like the sensor could predict nearly identically
spot on
what neurons are firing to say move front right leg at that speed and then next to the back left and whatever the sequence is, demonstrating that really you could map the movement. And Elon even talks about it. Essentially, you could map out the neurons needed, what the brain firings would be, signaling to walk. And then even somebody with a spinal cord injury, you could then essentially create a bridge, something below that injury, tapped into that the neurons below wherever that spinal cord severed spot is, create a bridge, and then take those brain signals and then transmit them still to the legs to hopefully regain
my legs
the
are
ability to
literally
walk.
Bluetooth to my skull.
Yeah, and it's a
The potential of this
It's a
is like
potential.
amazing. I by my mind when I first was watching this stuff too went to like Weight Watcher apps. Like, can I go in my app and shut off pizza Monday through Saturday, and then anytime I think about pizza or take a bite of a pizza, I get nauseous? Like, can I just shut off sugar in my brain so that I quit being a gluttonous fat ass? And just anytime I think about sugar, anytime I ingest sugar, it just makes me violently ill.
it's probably possible. I don't
That's
know.
what I'm saying. Like,
I
these
mean,
are the
when they're-
capabilities I think that are just merely like, if you talk to Elon, he'd be like, oh yeah, we can do that.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
I'm sure. Like, he literally told people that he could, completely like map, store to the cloud people's memories, and then upload it to another body or a robot. And it was like, he just says it so casually, like, no, that's in the realm of possibility. We've got that. Like, we'll get there eventually. It's like, oh, fuck, Elon, man. I don't know. Ultimately, I think it's a crazy interesting technology. I like I said, I know he has stuck that in somebody's brain already. Like, there's a human being with that thing already, if it's not him. And
They got
I
him
see
locked
it.
in a dungeon somewhere,
Yeah, I want to see it.
controlling remote control cars with his brain. Drive the track, Sven.
But it was definitely an interesting demonstration. I still find it funny that, like, I get it, Elon's the talent, so people want Elon to demonstrate stuff. But man, does he like suck at public speaking to some degree.
Yeah, I know.
But it's, I'm sure like he is just like, hey, somebody could explain this better. There's better people to communicate this.
Yeah, but
then
you
in the
got
end,
to
they're
see
like,
Elon do it. Nobody trusts anybody but
You're-
Elon. Like, you're
Yeah.
not going to trust it coming from anybody's mouth but his.
Yeah, it's a weird thing that normally you want your CEOs, you want them to be fairly competent public speakers and stuff like that. And in the case of Elon, I think it's his lack of polished public speaking and stuff like that gives him greater credibility as a scientist and nerd and innovator in this sense. So whatever, it works for him. Interesting to see what the next iteration of them releasing this. I think they're going to end up doing another probably big event in the next 12 months.
Yeah, I mean, he's pretty good at giving checkups, especially with his history of SpaceX. He likes to let everybody know where they're at, and he's not afraid to broadcast his failures on the way. Like, he gives constant updates, and lets people know that where the progression's going.
And then, this could tie into another story this week from we talked about this guy before, but there's a terminally ill scientist who has the same disease that Stephen Hawking suffered from. We talked about him maybe a year ago. It might have been that long already, as he replaced like his stomach and ripped and took out his vocal cords. As he's got I can't remember what it is, the muscle degenerating disease or motor neuron disease, which is what Stephen Hawking had. And like he took out his vocal box last year. He's replaced his stomach with a completely artificial stomach. He professed that he's going to be the world's first like true cyborg. I guess he's trying to slowly become essentially an avatar. He's trying to have a computer avatar that represents his emotion and represents him as he talks through a computer and everything else. And it's like, this happens the same week as Neuralink, or this article comes out where if in the same week as Neuralink, they're just trying to get, he's just advertising, trying to get Elon to,
For sure.
to let
sure.
him, like, you're trying to help people like him. He wants in. He wants to be the world's first cyborg. He's a brilliant scientist on his own, and he's just trying to overcome all of these issues by essentially just slowly replacing all of these areas that he's losing function with mechanical replacements.
Yeah, I feel the dude. Like, what's he got to lose? What's he got to lose? You know what I mean? Like, he's looking to improve his life. The technology is out there. It's not perfected. It's not, all of it FDA approved, I guess. But
Yeah.
he don't give a shit. Just like, well, like, what am I doing here?
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe he'll find himself out on some foreign island that doesn't care about these things, and Elon will just happen to vacation there with his robot and put a Neuralink in his brain.
If you ever see Elon Musk's flight itinerary and he's going to like Myanmar or some shit, like you better watch out. There's some Dr. Zhivago shit going on there for sure.
But and then I guess we can keep in the Elon topics, but there was a tease coming out of Tesla, coming out of Elon's camp, just talking about having some major breakthroughs with batteries, drastically increasing the capacity of the batteries, which that's going to be something that will the electric cars are already kind of revolutionizing things, but then if you can drastically improve the range and chargeability and durability of these batteries, it'll go another significant further step towards
you
being
figure
viable.
There's got to be, just like how we have a huge AI race, there's got to be a big battery race going on right now with with wind power and solar power and all these things basically being hindered on how well we can store energy. There's got to be a huge battery race going on in the world right now. If not, then that's a goddamn shame.
Yeah. And maybe part of that battery race is we also get this week. So Elon's talking about being able to just raise the capacity of his batteries by about 50%. That still requires charging and everything else. This week we get some news that there was a company announcing that they can make batteries that can last decades without charging through nuclear waste. Or actually, it's not just decades. They claim that one of the batteries they can do 28,000 years.
That's a ridiculous number. Like. I'm thinking can it power one LED diode for 28,000 years? Maybe.
That's like one AA battery out of nuclear waste.
Yeah. But you see this LED light, 5-watt LED light, it'll stay on for 28,000 years with this. Like, okay, like, all right, you got one light. Like, let's up the ampage here and see what this really be about.
Yeah, I have no idea how this would even come about, but this company claims they could use nuclear waste to just make these batteries that'll last for a very long time. And even talking about making battery packs suitable for electric cars, ones that could power electric cars that would last probably up to 90 years in kind of like that large capacity, high output batteries that you see in electric cars, and it could last up to 90 years without a single charge. I don't know how many people are going to sign up for driving a vehicle that is powered by nuclear waste. I imagine that would be a scary car accident to get into.
Yeah, I don't know. You would hope that the minds kind of think about that stuff as we go, like, hey, we made this battery that lasts 28,000 years, but it's going to give you brain tumors in 5. So I hope they would be weighing those options alongside each other.
And the truth is you would have to like re-educate society before this could ever come out.
Because they're just going to picture a car with a yellow drum with the Back to the Future symbol on the back of it.
Most dummies like us, all we know of is nuclear waste is Homer Simpson, Simpson's level nuclear power.
The green rod stuck to the back of his shirt. Like, that's going to power my car?
That is all we know of nuclear power. We have demonized nuclear energy to a point that and the waste and the byproducts of it as like this terrible thing for society, that the concept of using waste to power cars. But supposedly the claims of the company is that the radiation given off by the waste in this instance is less radiation that is just given off by your body, by the human body in just a natural sense. Like it's actually not some like higher level, you got some Geiger meter that you got to test your car to make sure that
especially
it's
not the new
leaking radiation every day.
Nuclear plants that they have, they give off less waste. It's not like green Ninja Turtle sludge or some shit. It's like ionized water, because they just, that's how nuclear reactors work. It's water, and they steam and it's condensed, and it evaporates and comes back, and like, so I'm not telling you to drink it, but I don't think it might not be bad to put it in a jar and have it power your shit.
Yeah, in the end, I think it would be really cool to see happen. I I would like to see more nuclear power in this world. And if you could actually put to use the waste and also reduce fossil fuel usage and power electrical vehicles with it, that's a win-win in my book. Like, let's get moving in that direction. But it's probably a little more difficult than that.
Man, highway property is going to go skyrocketing with electric cars. The day you don't hear engines anymore, like the day that you just have a highway of cars dead ass silent whizzing by, like highway property is going to shoot through the roof. Buy that cheap house now.
And then we can jump to some more innovation around transportation, and this is one we've all been waiting for, as Japan has now tested, and they get off the ground, a prototype for a flying car with an actual human aboard this time.
Yeah.
Get the hell out of here. How are you not excited for flying cars?
Because I'm not excited about humans flying them. It took a long time for us to devise a system of order to keep people in lanes, driving at speed limits, using signals and brake lights, and that's still a fucking project. Let's not act like every time we go on the fucking road that there isn't some asshole that just can't grasp the concept of merging, of fucking, like
but you don't need to merge when you got 3 dimensions to deal with here.
Yeah,
you don't, like, if you're merging, if you're getting within 10 feet of another passenger vehicle, other than there's going to have to be some kind of control. There's going to have to be some kind of, like, I don't know, place to land in terminals. In the end, you still got to park that bitch at Walmart. But once you're in the air, you shouldn't have to merge. You shouldn't have to do anything.
It's not the technology that scares me. It's always the human element.
It's going to be autonomous anyway. Let's be serious. By the time we get to that point, we're going to let it be autonomous, and that would be a perfect vehicle for autonomous, because then you don't have to worry about stoplights, you don't have to worry about anything. All you need is sensors that just make sure that you are deconflicting by space, GPS to get to the destination, and sensors to make sure that you don't swat into a tree or into another thing in the sky. Easy.
Yeah, I'm not going to sign up for that beta test. Let's put it like that.
No, I'm not either. I don't want to fall out of the sky. In the end, those things are going to those first ones are going to fall out of the sky. But it looked like a quadcopter, just carrying one person in it. It had a rail system. It didn't even have wheels. It had a rail system on the bottom of it, like a helicopter.
Yeah, and what fun is it to fly somewhere by yourself?
Yeah. I mean, they'll ramp this thing up. It's fine. They're going to get to a point where they can do more. Either way, it still looks cool. They didn't really fly very far. They just picked it up like 3 feet off the ground and moved it around. So it's a demonstration of concept here. There's no actual real flight taking place yet. But I don't know. I expect you to be more excited about this. We all thought we'd have flying cars by now. This is the natural progression.
Like I said, I like the technology. You put me in the middle of nowhere, I'll drive it around and fly it around. But the minute you mass produce these things and you have every asshole that has access to flying around in their own automobile, I'm out. Like, I think I'll stay on the ground. I'll let a million motherfuckers fly above me while I'm just cruising an empty highway now.
I mean, if you're worried about that one from Japan's maker, did you check out the article I sent you with the Air Force's version?
That thing was hideous.
Look at the difference of elegance between the U.S. military and the Air Force and some just Japanese private company. When you compare the two side by side, and these are both where people's heads are at for flying vehicles, it's like, man, Air Force, what?
Yeah,
you don't just give it to your private straight out of whatever boot camp things you guys do and just tell them to come up with a design. You might want to actually hire somebody. That thing is terrible looking.
Yeah, it looked like some kind of just like bastardized drone, like.
It really does. That thing, it's got at least 10 different propeller blades on it. It's got a weird, like, spider legs to it.
You know that thing's loud.
Yeah. Weird spider leg thing to it. But, I mean, power to some dude in the military actually got in that thing and flew it off the ground. And I don't know if he felt comfortable about it, but either way, he did it. And it's, it goes to show that it's not just, these Japanese private companies looking for it. Everybody's trying to find a solution into like casual air travel, whether we want to call them flying cars or we want to call them, personal quadcopters or whatever in the end it's going to be. But there is a demand and a use, and it's going to eventually get to that point that we.
Oh yeah, and then
just,
the headlines are going to get shared. Man crashes flying car into Walmart. Man crash lands in field. Like it's. Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know.
Absolutely, and that's fine. I mean, there's still already people crashing cars into Walmart.
That's what I'm saying. And that's my whole point. And we've been doing that for 100 years. We've been practicing this for 5 generations.
I don't know. I still think that if we get flying cars or personal flying helicopters and stuff like that, the regulations around allowing that to be autonomous would happen way faster than we allow cars to become autonomous and trucks to be autonomous.
Okay, so what scares me is, so I went golfing a few weeks ago, and the golf cart had GPS and a screen on it so that it shows you where you're at in your cart, where you're at the hole, like all this junk, right? So it's got all these cool sensors that are supposed to help you, and if you drive into a place where the cart's not allowed, it shuts down the golf cart automatically. Well, I don't know how, but we managed to get a little too close to a pond, and it shut down the cart, and it says like it's only got reverse. Well, reverse would have drove us straight into the fucking pond. So I had one option: put it in reverse and drive into a pond, or just leave the golf cart there. So now me and Rami are pushing this fucking golf cart into the zone where the cart will actually engage again. Like I just see these like these autonomous systems, like they're gonna have their faults too. Like I was literally puzzled. I'm looking like, and it's like put in reverse and go back to non-zoned area, and I'm like, it's a fucking pond, man. Like I can't go in reverse. Like I gotta get out of here. Like what do you want me to do? And like, this is like
I promise you these will have more sophisticated technology than
you would think.
The GPS,
you would hope. I don't.
But no other sensors.
I'm not holding
Obviously,
my breath.
That didn't even have sensors in it to determine direction that it was pointing. So I think things will get better than that. But you never know. In the end, I saw an article, I didn't share it with you, but there's an article this week that somebody watching a movie on autonomous mode in a Tesla smashed into the back of a cop car. So you're right. There's flaws in these systems.
That's what I'm saying, man.
There's absolute flaws in these systems. But I trust the robots more than I trust the humans eventually. Not yet, but eventually.
The robots are catching up. Like, let's put it like that. But I don't trust either right now.
But, we're talking about not trusting the robots. And then, the last article that we have of the week is around the Airbus. We talked a little while ago about Airbus having this capacity. And then now Airbus now completes a first flight, or they're completing flights that are 100% autonomous. So you're talking about commercial level planes going from taxiing to the runway, takeoff, landing, and then final taxi. All of it autonomous, not a single bit of human interaction.
Again, this still scares me. Like, I don't want to get on the plane yet. I'm sure there's a handful full of people in Malaysia that are like, nope, not going. Like last time we let a computer tell us which way the plane should go, it sent us into the ground. So like, it's really cool to see this stuff kind of being implemented and rolled out, but at the same time I'm highly skeptical, like, because all it takes is one mistake. Like, the room for error with this stuff is 0.0. You know what I mean? You can't have a 1% fault in these kinds of this kind of technology, in less than a 1% error equates into hundreds if not thousands of deaths.
I don't know, is it that same error exists when humans do it? So is it just more tolerable when we can blame it on a human instead of blaming it on a corporation?
Yep.
And I think that's really what it is.
I want a flesh robot I could point a finger at and be mad at that actually has some kind of like empathy and sense of responsibility.
Yeah, and I think that's where, because in the end, if the plane crashes and that freak error happens and they're not crashing any more than the rate that human pilots were crashing, you would think that that's like, okay, well, that's still, it might even be a net positive, right? There's going to be less overall crashes, or especially when we're talking about vehicle crashes. But every vehicle crash now gets blamed on Tesla. It gets blamed on the corporation that designed it.
Yeah, it gets blamed on the software, and software has no face, and software has no story, and software, you can't sympathize with software. You can't put yourself in software's shoes and say, I myself may not have done better. You're just going to be like, why isn't it better? Why isn't it work? And then the lawsuits come, and these companies that are pioneering this tech go out of business because they can't afford the liability. Like it's I don't know, man.
Yeah, I don't have a solution.
We've done
here.
stories on how shitty humans are to robots. And if you take Rajesh out of the cab, I really don't think it's going to make the person in the cab that much nicer. To tell you the truth, I think it's only going to get worse because they treat Rajesh like shit right now too.
Well, that's for us. That's a week in news, and there's a lot around automation, a lot of future tech. This seems like an episode in futurism right now, but I'm here for all of it. I want all of it, and I'll put the brain chip in there, and then I'll jump in an autonomous flying car to take me to the airport to get on a commercial plane. I'll take all of it.
Bundle it all together with me. Give me the whole bundle. Episode 101, folks.
All right. Well, but I guess with all that said, that is the news, and we appreciate you for listening. Continue to tune in, and make sure you take a minute to subscribe. Set us to some level of download or notification if you can. We've got a lot more Cantina Conversations coming up with some authors, some returning authors, as well as some new ones with upcoming works, as well as our weekly news segment. So please subscribe and like and review.
Yeah, I was able to snag a few questions in before Megan did her third now interview with Daniel Kraus, releasing his third book this year. For our Patreon subscribers, it's a few spoiler-filled questions on Bent Heavens. Bent Heavens was the first book he came to promote on our show. It's been out for a while now. If you haven't read it, I highly suggest you read it. It's a real quick read. It was only an 8-hour audiobook. It's only a couple hundred pages with big font. So I'm pretty sure everybody could pound through it pretty quick, and it's worth the read. So you got a little bit of time, I would pound that book out and then head to our Patreon page, give us $1, get a sticker, and listen to him answer a few questions on his process without the limitations of spoiling the book. So we had a fun little conversation that I think you'd enjoy.
All right. Well, with all that said, thanks again. And we will talk to you next week, nerds.
See you later, nerds.